It is 2:30 in the afternoon. The air conditioner is losing the fight, and your dog is stretched flat on the kitchen tile, panting so fast you can actually count it. 40 breaths, 50 breaths, 60 breaths a minute. And somewhere in the back of your mind, a quiet voice is asking, is this normal summer panting, or is this the beginning of something I will not be able to stop? If you have ever stood in your kitchen watching your dog pant and felt that little spike of fear, I want you to let go of the guilt right now, because you are not behind. You are not careless. You are a pet parent paying attention, and that is exactly the person this video is for. Here is the part that matters. If the forecast where you live shows anything above 90 degrees Fahrenheit in the next 7 days, the next 72 hours of preparation may be the most important 72 hours of your dog's entire summer, because heat stroke in dogs is not a slow disease. Published veterinary research has reported that in severe canine heat stroke cases, roughly half of the dogs who reach the hospital do not survive, and the ones who do survive often arrive within 30 minutes of the first obvious sign. Now, what if I told you that the single best everyday cooling tool for your dog this summer costs less than $1, takes about 90 seconds to prepare, and lives in your freezer? And what if I also told you that the warning you have probably heard from a well-meaning neighbor or a viral Facebook post, "Never give a hot dog ice water because it causes deadly bloat," is a myth that veterinarians have been trying to put in the ground for more than a decade? I am going to show you the frozen bowl trick step by step, and along the way I am going to show you the 7-second driveway test that tells you whether a walk is safe before you leave the house, and the one spot on your dog's body that dumps heat faster than anywhere else. A spot most owners never touch when they are trying to cool their dog down. There is also one extremely common cooling move, something loving owners do with the very best intentions, that can actually trap heat against your dog's body and make things worse. I will tell you exactly what it is, because I promise you, someone on your street is doing it this week. Here is exactly what I am going to walk you through today. First, the frozen bowl itself, the exact 3-ingredient recipe, the ratio, the freeze time, and the one label warning on broth that matters more than anything else in this video. Second, the 7-second gum check, a test you can do with one finger in about 7 seconds that can catch heat stress before your dog ever stumbles. Third, the driveway pavement test and the walk timing rule, because air temperature and ground temperature are two completely different numbers, and the difference can be more than 50 degrees. Fourth, the cooling station setup, including the wet towel mistake that makes dogs hotter instead of cooler. And fifth, the exact red flag checklist, the specific signs and the specific temperature number that mean you stop everything and drive to the veterinary ER. Because the honest truth is that no frozen bowl on earth replaces an emergency vet when your dog actually crosses the line. Grab a notebook if you have one nearby, because this is a full masterclass, and the details are where dogs get saved. My name is Dr. Cora Bennett, and around here they call me the Pantry Vet, because most of what I teach starts in your kitchen, not in an exam room. I practice general veterinary medicine, and every single summer my clinic fields a wave of heat-related calls, dozens of them in a bad July, and the pattern behind those calls is almost always the same. Quick disclaimer before we go one step further. This video is education from a vet who cares, not a substitute for hands-on care from your own veterinarian. Let me tell you about Murphy, because Murphy is the reason this video exists. Murphy is a composite of real cases my clinic has handled, with the details changed, but I promise you every piece of this story has happened to a real dog. Murphy is a 6-year-old golden retriever in Austin, Texas, 74 pounds. The kind of dog who greets the mail carrier like a long-lost brother. His owner, Rachel, is careful. She reads the articles. She never leaves him in the car, not for 1 minute, not ever. Last July, Austin hit a stretch of 9 straight days above 100 degrees, and Rachel did what a responsible owner does. She moved Murphy's walk to 9 in the morning to beat the heat. On the 4th day of the heat wave, the air temperature at 9 in the morning was 91 degrees. The asphalt on Rachel's street, which had been baking since sunrise and had never fully cooled overnight, was later estimated at over 130 degrees. Murphy did his normal 30-minute loop. He seemed fine at the 20-minute mark. At the 25-minute mark, he slowed down. In the last 100 yards, he started panting in a way Rachel had never heard before, a harsh, roaring pant, and thick ropes of drool were swinging from his jowls. By the time they reached the front porch, Murphy's back legs were wobbling like he had been sedated. Rachel got him inside, and here is the moment I want you to sit with, because it is the moment that decides these cases. Rachel did not wait to see if he would improve. She soaked him with cool water from the kitchen sprayer, put him in the car with the air conditioning blasting, and drove to the emergency clinic. Murphy arrived with a body temperature of 105.8 degrees. Normal for a dog is between 101 and 102.5. At 106, proteins in the body literally begin to cook, and organs start to fail. Murphy spent 2 nights hospitalized on intravenous fluids with his clotting values checked every few hours. The bill came to $4,200. Murphy survived, and the ER doctor told Rachel 2 things. First, the cool water in the kitchen before the drive may have saved his life. Second, 10 more minutes on that walk, and this would likely have been a different conversation. Now here is why I am telling you about Murphy. Rachel was not careless. Rachel followed the advice everyone gives. Walk in the morning, bring water, watch your dog. And it still nearly killed him, because the standard advice is missing the specific numbers. And the tens of millions of American households with a dog and a heat wave in the forecast are about to face the exact same gap that Rachel faced. So let me explain the machine underneath all of this, because once you understand how a dog actually sheds heat, the frozen bowl stops being a cute trick and starts making perfect physical sense. Here is the whole mechanism in one sentence. Your dog cannot sweat the way you do, so nearly all of his cooling happens through evaporation off his tongue and upper airway, which means his tongue is not just for tasting. His tongue is his radiator. When a dog pants, blood vessels in the tongue swell wide open, warm blood flows through them, moisture evaporates off the surface, and the blood returns to the body a little cooler. That is the entire system. A human being has millions of sweat glands spread across the whole body. Your dog has a radiator the size of a slice of deli ham, plus a small amount of sweating through the paw pads. And that is it. This is also why humidity is such a killer, and we will come back to that. Now, why does a frozen bowl beat a plain bowl of cold water? 3 reasons, and the third one is the one almost nobody talks about. Reason 1 is direct conduction. When your dog licks a frozen surface, heat moves straight out of that blood-rich tongue into the ice, cooling the blood on its way back to the core. You are cooling the radiator directly instead of waiting for evaporation to do it. Reason 2 is metered hydration. A hot dog who gulps a huge bowl of water in 30 seconds often vomits it right back up, and now he is more dehydrated than when he started. A frozen bowl releases water slowly, lick by lick, over 30 or 45 minutes, so the fluid actually stays down and keeps his blood volume up. And blood volume is what makes the whole panting system work in the first place. Reason 3, the hidden one, is behavior. Licking is a naturally calming activity for dogs, and a dog working on a frozen bowl is a dog lying still in the shade instead of pacing the fence line. Muscle activity generates heat from the inside, so a trick that keeps your dog voluntarily motionless during the hottest hours is doing half the cooling job before the ice even matters. And now the myth, because I promised. The claim that ice water causes bloat traces back to a viral email story that has circulated since the 2000s, and veterinarians at major veterinary teaching hospitals have publicly and repeatedly debunked it. Bloat, which vets call gastric dilatation volvulus, or GDV, is associated with things like rapid eating, one huge meal a day, and vigorous exercise right around mealtime, especially in large, deep-chested breeds. Water temperature is not the driver. The genuine risk with a heat-stressed dog is the gulping, the volume, not the cold. And the frozen bowl solves the gulping problem by design. Think back to Murphy. His crisis was a radiator failure. His tongue and airway simply could not evaporate moisture fast enough to keep up with the heat pouring in from that 130-degree pavement. Everything I teach you today is about protecting that radiator. Let me show you 3 more dogs, because your dog is probably one of these. Winston is a 4-year-old French bulldog in Phoenix, Arizona, 26 pounds of attitude. His owner, Dana, learned the hard way that everything I just said about the tongue radiator gets 10 times worse in a flat-faced breed. Frenchies, pugs, Boston Terriers, English bulldogs. These are brachycephalic dogs, and their compressed airway means panting is loud, inefficient, and exhausting. Last June, on a 108-degree afternoon, Winston overheated on a 5-minute potty trip at 10 in the morning, just 5 minutes, and Dana ended up at her regular vet for a $280 heat stress exam. Her vet told her something I want every flat-faced dog owner to hear. For a brachycephalic dog, the frozen bowl is not a bonus, it is close to essential, because it cools by direct contact with the tongue and completely bypasses that struggling airway. Winston now gets a frozen bowl at 11 in the morning and another at 3 in the afternoon every day the forecast crosses 95, and his potty trips happen on grass, in shade, before 8 in the morning. Sadie is a different story. Sadie is an 11-year-old chocolate lab in Atlanta, Georgia, 68 pounds, arthritic hips, and she takes daily heart medication. 2 things put Sadie in danger. First, senior dogs regulate temperature poorly. Their cardiovascular system just cannot move heat the way it did at age 3. Second, Atlanta humidity. On a 92-degree Atlanta day at 85% humidity, evaporation off the tongue nearly stops working because the air is already saturated, so a humid 92 can be genuinely more dangerous for a dog than a dry Phoenix 105. Sadie's owner, Frank, makes her bowls with plain water and frozen blueberries, no broth at all, because Sadie's heart medication means her sodium intake matters, and Frank asked his vet first. That is a sentence I want you to remember. If your dog has heart disease, kidney disease, or is on any prescription medication, ask your vet before adding broth. Water and frozen fruit alone still deliver the full cooling effect. And then there is Coda, the case that surprises people. Coda is a 3-year-old Siberian Husky in Portland, Oregon, a city where dogs are simply not acclimated to serious heat. When the forecast showed a 96-degree weekend, Coda's owner did what felt loving and logical. He took Coda to a groomer and had that thick double coat shaved down to the skin. Please hear me on this. A double coat is insulation in both directions. It traps a layer of cooler air against the skin in summer, and it shields the skin from UV radiation. Shaved double-coated dogs can overheat faster and can sunburn badly. Coda spent that weekend miserable, pink-skinned and hotter than he needed to be, when a good brushing to strip the dead undercoat, a shaded cooling station, and a frozen bowl would have done the actual job. 3 dogs, 3 lessons. Flat faces multiply the risk, humidity and age multiply the risk, and a heat wave in a mild climate city may be the most dangerous version of all. Because neither the dogs nor the owners are ready for it. Here is exactly what to do in this order starting tonight. Item 1. Make your first frozen bowl before you go to bed. Take a stainless steel or sturdy ceramic bowl, medium-sized for a dog over 40 pounds, a small cereal bowl for little dogs. Fill it with 3 parts water to 1 part low-sodium chicken broth, and here is the label warning I flagged earlier. Read the ingredients and confirm there is no onion and no garlic in any form. Because both are toxic to dogs, and they hide in a surprising number of broths. If the label is unclear, skip the broth and use plain water. Drop in a small handful of dog-safe extras, a few blueberries, some thin carrot coins, a spoonful of plain canned pumpkin, the plain kind, never pie filling, or even a few pieces of your dog's regular kibble. Freeze it flat for at least 6 to 8 hours. Tomorrow, during the hottest stretch of the day, set it on a towel in the shade and let your dog work on it. Total cost, well under $1. For dogs with any medical condition, 1 call to your vet first. Item 2. Learn the 7-second gum check today while your dog is cool and calm so you know his normal. Lift his lip, look at the gum color, then press 1 finger firmly on the gum for 1 second and release. The spot goes white, then refills to pink. Count the refill. In a healthy hydrated dog, color returns in under 2 seconds. Healthy gums are bubblegum pink and slick with saliva. During a heat wave, check every couple of hours on hot afternoons. Gums that look brick red or dry and tacky like they have been blotted with a paper towel, or a refill that drags past 2 seconds, those are early warnings that your dog is heat-stressed and dehydrated. And they can show up before the stumbling ever starts. Item 3. Run the pavement test before every single walk. Press the back of your hand flat against the asphalt or sidewalk and hold it for 7 full seconds. If you cannot comfortably keep it there, that surface can burn paw pads and it is pouring heat into your dog from below. Remember Murphy, air at 91, pavement over 130. During a heat wave, walks move to before 8 in the morning or after 8 at night. They get shorter, and they route over grass whenever possible. A skipped walk is not a failure. A skipped walk on a 100-degree day is good medicine. Item 4. Build a cooling station and avoid the mistake I promised to expose. The mistake is draping a soaking wet towel over your dog's back. It feels intuitive, and for the first 2 minutes it helps, but that towel warms to body temperature fast, and once it is warm and wet, it acts like a blanket, trapping heat and humidity against the coat, the exact opposite of what you wanted. Do it the other way around. Lay a cool, damp towel on the floor and let your dog lie on top of it. And if he is genuinely hot, apply cool tap water, not ice water, with your hands or a cloth to the belly, the groin, the armpits, and the paw pads. That groin area is the spot I mentioned at the top of this video, the place where large blood vessels run close to the surface with almost no fur over them, which makes it the fastest heat dump on your dog's whole body. Add a fan for moving air, keep the frozen bowl nearby, and you have a complete cooling station for the price of a towel. Item 5. Memorize the ER. Thresholds, because this is the beat I will never skip, no matter how gentle the rest of the episode is. Drive to the veterinary ER immediately if you see any of the following. Frantic panting that does not begin to settle after 10 to 15 minutes in air conditioning. Gums that are brick red, gray, or bluish. Thick ropes of drool. Vomiting or diarrhea in the heat. Wobbling, stumbling, or any collapse, even for a moment. Glassy, unfocused eyes. Or a rectal temperature of 104 degrees or higher. If you see these signs, wet your dog down with cool tap water first, then load up and drive with the air conditioning on high, and call the clinic from the road so they are ready at the door. Cool first, then transport fast. Minutes decide these cases, and no home remedy, mine included, treats actual heat stroke. Now, one advanced move that almost no pet parent I meet has ever done, and it costs about $10. Buy a basic digital thermometer, label it dogs only, and take your dog's baseline rectal temperature this week, on a cool, calm evening before any heat wave arrives. Use a dab of petroleum jelly or water-based lubricant. Insert about 1 inch, wait for the beep, and do it twice a few minutes apart, then average the numbers. Write that baseline somewhere you will find it. The inside of a cabinet door works. Normal for most dogs falls between 101 and 102.5 degrees, but your individual dog has his own normal, and knowing it changes everything on a scary afternoon, because in a heat event, a real number replaces guessing and panic. A reading of 103 says get him cooling and watch closely. 104 or above says you are already in the car. The caveats, and they matter. If your dog will not tolerate this calmly, do not force it and do not risk a bite. The gum check and the visible signs from item 5 still protect you, and a home thermometer never overrules your gut or your vet. If your dog looks wrong, he is wrong, whatever the number says. Do this once this week, and you will own a piece of information that most owners only learn for the first time from an ER doctor at midnight. So if you take nothing else from the last 25 minutes, take this. Your dog cools through a radiator the size of his tongue. A heat wave can overwhelm that radiator in under 30 minutes, and the defense costs less than $1. 3 parts water, 1 part onion-free low-sodium broth, a few blueberries, 8 hours in the freezer. Add the 7-second pavement test before every walk, the 1-finger gum check on hot afternoons, a cooling station with the towel under your dog instead of over him, and the red flag list that sends you to the ER without hesitation. And you have just become the most heat-prepared pet parent on your street. And please, release the guilt one more time. Rachel loved Murphy and still got caught, not because she failed, but because nobody had given her the numbers. Now you have them. And if a heat wave is already sitting in your 7-day forecast, tonight is the night that bowl goes in the freezer. If this masterclass helped you, tap the like button so it reaches one more worried pet parent before the heat arrives. And subscribe so you never miss what we cover next. Because next week, I am walking through the 5 common backyard plants that quietly send dogs to the emergency room every single July. And the third one is probably within 50 feet of your door right now. One last thing before you go. Think of the friend who walks their dog at lunchtime, or the neighbor with the Frenchie, or your parents with that sweet old lab, and send them this video today, because the heat wave in the forecast does not wait, and the frozen bowl only works if it is already in the freezer when the temperature spikes. take good care of your good dog, and I will see you back in the pantry.